Okay, we are going to be reteaching lesson 3.6 for those of you who want to do quiz corrections, okay? So on ands, so this whole first page here is going to be and statements. And if you notice on your and statements here, they're all written kind of like that special form where it's kind of scrunched together, and statements, okay? Or it could have the word and in it. On an or statement, it has to have the word or in it. So you can see here, there's or in all of them. There's no special way to write an or. Okay, so you're going to have that word or in there. All right, so going back, let's look at problem number 1 here. Okay, so now on problem number 1, I'm going to go ahead and kind of draw a wall here, just so you make sure what you do to one side, you got to do the other type thing. All right, so I'm going to start, since this says divide by 5, I'm going to multiply by 5 and get that to cancel. Now I'm going to do that to my 2 outside parts. So I have negative 10 less than or equal to m less than 10. Okay. Now, in this case, if you're going from your smallest to your biggest and you've got less ends in the game, this is your answer right here. Okay, start small, big, lessons in the middle. Okay, so what this is saying is your answers are going to be between negative 10 and 10. So on negative 10, I'm going to have a closed circle. On 10, I'm going to have an open circle, and everything between gets shaded, okay? Now, if you're thinking about, okay, what if I break it up? So right there, right, I've got an open circle at negative 10, heading this direction, okay? And then on this first guy right here, if you're looking at him, remember, it shares the middle. So if I do a quick rewrite there, that would be m is greater than or equal to negative 10. So I would have a closed circle heading this direction. Again, we are asking ourselves, where do they overlap? These lines overlap here in the middle, which you can see is what I have up here on my grid, okay? So if it goes from smallest to biggest, it's in between. That's what an and statement means. Where do they overlap? They're going to overlap here in the middle. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, so this is going to be the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and write this down below just so I have a little more room to work. Okay, and I'm going to draw my walls. I'm going to start by subtracting 9 off of all 3 parts, right? So that cancels. So I have a 5x left in the middle, less than 50, less than or equal to 45. Okay, now I'm going to divide by 5 on all parts. And again, I'm going to get 9 less than or equal to x less than 10. Okay, so again, do I have my small number? Yep. Going to my big number? Yep. Do I have lessons? I sure do. So my answer is between 9 and 10. Okay, so up here, between 9 and 10, I'm going to have a closed circle on 9. I'm going to have an open circle on 10, and everything in the middle. Okay? All right, let's try the next one. Okay, so this is written kind of the same format. So on this guy, again, I draw my lines. I'm going to divide by 3 on all sides. So the 3 cancels. I've got x in the middle. My signs stay less than because I didn't divide by negative. So 0 divided by 3 is 0. Negative 27 divided by 3 is negative 9. Okay, so now when I look at this one, I have an issue here because it's not going from my smallest to my biggest, right? 0 is bigger. So something up here. If I don't go from smallest to biggest, something is not quite right, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start with the guy that we already know. X is going to be less than negative 9. And man, negative 9 is not even on the grid here. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in a negative 9. I've got an open circle heading that direction, okay? Now, on this first guy here, again, you've got to do your rewrite. Your variable needs to be out front, okay? So it's going to be turned x is greater than 0, right? We're just rewriting it. So now at 0, I have an open circle, and it's heading in this direction. So now on an and statement, if they are not overlapping, that's a problem, okay? So it's an and statement that looks like an or. That's no good. No overlapping means I have no solution here, okay? If I have no solution, that means my graph is technically blank. There's nothing on it. Now, I am completely fine, though, if you're showing your work and showing me this. Yeah, I can stay on your grid as long as you come up with no solution at the end. All right, number 4. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and rewrite these down, and let's go ahead and solve. So I've got negative 7v minus 4 less than negative 11, and, so it's telling you it's an and statement, 8v plus 4 greater than or equal to negative 60. All right, so I'm going to start by adding 4 to both sides here. So I get negative 7v is less than negative 7. Now I'm dividing by negative 7 on both sides, so v sign flips because I just divided by negative 1. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to subtract the 4. 8v is greater than or equal to negative 64. I'm then going to divide by 8, and v sign stays because I divided by a positive negative 8. All right, so now looking at this, let's go up on our grid here. Okay, so at 1, I've got an open circle shading to the right. And then at negative 8, again, they didn't put it on the grid there, so negative 8, I've got a closed circle shading it to the right. Okay, so now on an and statement, where do they overlap? They overlap right here. Okay, so my answer is going to be everything from here over. Okay, I am not including that 8 in my answer because it's not overlapping out there. So my final answer here is just going to be v is greater than 1. Okay, we're going to go now to the next page. All right, and let's take a look at some of these ors. So now keep in mind that or will have the word or in it, okay? All right, so on this one, we're going to go ahead and start by just adding the 9 over to both sides. So I've got n is less than or equal to 3. I'm going to add the 10 over to both sides and get n is greater than or equal to 6. Now, on an or answer, the or is just going to stay in the middle on a nice typical or, okay? So now let's double check my graph here. So 3, I got a closed circle. I'm heading this direction. 6, closed circle, heading off to the right. All right, so now this is a good typical or statement. It should be going out if it's an or, all right? So your answer is this or this. Okay, so this is right here is your final answer. Again, the word or will show up unless it's a special case. Okay, going on to number 6 here. I'm going to take a second here and just rewrite these down below just so I have some room to work them out. All right, I'm going to subtract the 4 off here. And when I subtract the 4, that gives me 90. I'm now going to divide by negative 9. Now, when I divide by that negative 9, remember that sign flips and I get negative 10. All right, I'm going to subtract the 2 on this one, so I get 9v is greater than negative 18. Divide and get v is greater than or equal to negative 2. Okay, so again, closed circle on negative 10 heading out. Closed circle on negative 2 heading out, and this is a great or statement. That's what it should look like, okay? So now here's your answer. Just stick the word or in between it. And there you go. All right, let's go down to this next guy. Okay, so on this guy here, I'm going to multiply by 2 on both sides and get n is greater than or equal to 8. On this one, I'm going to add my 9 over and get n is greater than or equal to negative 9. Okay, now when I'm looking at this, take note. These are going in the same direction, so this is going to be a special case. Again, it's an or statement, so we're asking what has shading on it or what's been graphed. Okay, so I'm going to have a closed circle on 8. And put 8 on here. Here, we'll get this way down here. So we'll put 8 down here somewhere. Closed circle, shading out. And then at negative 9, I've got a closed circle heading out. Okay, so now my question here is, since it's an or, what has shading on it? If it has shading on it, it is an answer. So in this case, where does my shading start? It's not where does it overlap? Where does it start? It starts here, and it's everything in this direction. So my answer for this is going to be this guy right here. N is greater than or equal to negative 9. Okay? So again, keep in mind, or statement, we're just looking what has been shaded, what has a mark on it. If it has a mark, it is an answer. So everything from negative 9 over, and we don't include that 8 because that 8 just gets swept up when that negative 9 comes through. Okay? All right, let's go to the next one here. Okay, again, or what has shading on it? Again, I'm going to take just a quick second here to write this down so I have a little room to work it. Okay, so I'm going to add the 10 over and get negative 30. Now I'm going to divide by 6 and get negative 5. Okay, on this guy, I'm going to subtract the 5 over. And so now when I subtract that 5 over, I'm going to get a negative 6x is greater than or equal to 0. 5 minus 5 is 0. Now I'm dividing by a negative. So when I divide by a negative, my inequality sign has to flip. But 0 divided by negative 6 will be 0. All right, so I'm going to take a look at the graph here. So on negative 5, I've got an open circle heading to the right. At that 0, I've got a closed circle heading to this way, to the left. Now again, what has a mark above it? All right, everything here has a mark. So that means everything's going to be an answer. I do not care about where it overlaps because it's an or statement. On an or statement, what has been marked? And that's going to be your answer. So in this case, the entire number line gets marked, and your answer is going to be all reals. Okay? All right, and that concludes the Lesson 3-6 reteaching video.